Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are all eagerly awaiting for the fireside chat. Our esteemed speakers are already here. Friends at the back, you can occupy the spaces in the front because, as you're all aware, parallel sessions are being held in different halls. So, a lot of our other friends will join in late. At the back, please come forward. Please, सामने आ जाइए. दयविट्टु ಮುಂದೆ ಬನ್ನಿ. Can I have to increase the volume, please? Request all of you outside, if you are hearing my voice, please come inside and take your seat as we are going to unfold the fireside chat in the next 3 to 5 minutes. So please take your seats quickly. Friends at the back, occupy the seats in the front, and request all of you to kindly put your mobiles in the silent mode right away. Thank you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are all set for the fireside chat. In fact, exploring creativity in this age of AI. It's my privilege and pleasure to invite the esteemed speakers. Please put your hands together and welcome Dr. Kiran Mazumdar-Shah, the Executive Chairperson and Founder, Biocon, and Chairperson of Vision Group on Biotechnology. And also, I would request Mr. Shekhar Kapoor, Indian filmmaker. Well, we have seen several of his movies, but still we don't want to clap. It's wrong. So put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please come over, sir. Shekhar Kapoor ji and Dr. Kiran Mazumdar-Shah. We are all set for an exciting fireside chat for the next 30 minutes or so, exploring creativity in the age of AI. In the interest of time, sir, Shekhar Kapoor, sir, take it away. It's all yours. You can start the fireside chat. You want to have a conversation or you want to speak something in the beginning and then take it over. It's on, I think it's on. Yeah.
Okay, so let me start by welcoming my very dear friend Shekhar Kapoor to our city of Bengaluru. I think we are absolutely delighted to have you here at the Bangalore Tech Summit. And you're someone who is, to me, a very fascinating person. Because Shekhar, I've known you for many years, and I've known you to be a deeply philosophical person and a highly cerebral person. And here we are talking about tech. And I know that, there's nothing that you don't know about any field. That's something that I've got to know about you, that you are very curious, you're very interested to know about different fields. And technology is something I know you're very, very interested in, and you're trying to basically learn and adopt it and adapt to it and do wonderful things with it. So let me start by asking you a very basic question. Because you're so philosophical and about the human being, the human mind and humanity, has AI finally forced us to confront what it truly means to be human?
Well, first, that introduction, Kiran, has been like, they say that philosophers are people who don't actually commit to anything. So whichever way the wind blows, your philosophy can go. But let me try. But thank you for all that you said about me. It's forced us to understand when we say artificial intelligence is what intelligence is. When I was a kid, can everybody hear me? Just raise your hands. Anybody not hear me? Oh, good, okay. So when my grandmother used to, as a kid, she used to, every time I went for an exam, she used to give me a spoonful of curd, dahi, with a little bit of sugar. And I was the laughing stock of all my friends because they said, "Acha, wo dahi kha ke aaya, he had some dahi, he's going to pass his exams." It's only much later that we learned that actually there was a whole lot of intelligence of the gut. That gut feeling, there was intelligence. So now I'm fascinated by the fact that we are learning more and more that there's intelligence of the heart. So the question is like, okay, so when you fall in love and your heart starts beating, is the heart talking to the brain or is the brain talking to the heart? So it's forced us to think what intelligence really is, and we don't confront that. We just say, artificial intelligence. Well, what is intelligence is a very basic fact we need to understand.
And to that point, you're saying that being human is about emotive intelligence, it's about intuitive intelligence. And does artificial intelligence really understand that, right? I mean, is that something that we need to address in terms of the way we are developing artificial intelligence?
I think that is also forcing us to understand the nature of our society and what it will do. Can I tell you this? Can I repeat the story I told you about that cleaning lady?
Yeah.
So there was this, and because many of you are entrepreneurs here, so there was this man who was raising the next $10 billion in that evening from his investors. So he goes to his office early in the morning to just work, and there's nobody there but the cleaning lady. So the cleaning lady comes to him and says, "Sir, I found these papers in your waste paper basket. Can I throw them away? But they look important." And he looks at them, and that's his presentation. And so what is the cleaning lady doing with his presentation? So he looks at her suspiciously, but she's just a cleaning lady. So he walks towards his office, and she said, "Sir, I'm really sorry, but I read them." She's uneducated. How can she read that document? And he just walks in, and as he's walking in, she said, "Sir, they're wrong," and he slams his door. Now, you know what happens when doubt sets in. Even if it's a cleaning lady, he read them, and he realized there were mistakes. And there's a knock on the door, and the cleaning lady said, "Sir, I've also rewritten your presentation," and she pushes some documents underneath the door. He reads the cleaning lady's presentation and realizes that her presentation is better. So what happened? What really happened? He went to MIT, he went to Harvard, he went to Stanford. He'd been running this business for a long time. His people, his friends had all gone there. And then he went to McKinsey's. He paid them $3 million to give a report, and they'd gone to Harvard, they'd gone to MIT. There was a thought process that went on in a circular fashion at what we call the top of the pyramid. The cleaning lady belonged to the bottom of the pyramid. So what really is going to happen? Because how come her report was better? Because somebody said that if you really want to feed your children, you have to understand the art of prompting. So she went to the art of prompting, and through AI, ChatGPT, wherever she could, she understood a lot of what he already had was of the past. She was looking at the future, and the future was artificial intelligence, right? But so what she got was intuitivity. She was intuitive. And why was she more intuitive than him? Because she had to feed her children. There was a necessity, like for example, when I'm filming and if I have 200 extras and things and I don't know what to do and horses, I get into a state of panic. The need for intuition, actually, the need for intuitivity leads me to be intuitive. So she was intuitive. So if that is happening, and if AI is sucking inertia out of the system, can the pyramid survive? That's a big thing. Can that pyramid survive? And if the pyramid does not survive, and now we have a flat pyramid, who leads and who follows? And sometimes, when I look out, and these starlings, you see these birds that are traveling, hundreds of them together, and then they suddenly move. And then you realize, which bird actually moved? Which bird followed? But there are thousands, and they keep moving in unison. And then you really realize that the only thing that actually is working, that they're intuitively connected to each other. So for me, other than what's doing to my business, it's a fascinating way. Are we going to reconfigure society in a way that is much more intuitive because the pyramid is about to collapse and because, of course, AI sucks inertia out of the system? And the way we construct a society is, passing down of orders and this analysis, that it creates a lot of inertia. So there is one thing that going to affect all of us, is how our society is going to function in the world of AI.
But at the same time, the way we know AI today is built on the kind of knowledge you talked about. This old boys club of thinking about problems or how to solve certain problems. So the large language models are really based on that, if you know what I mean. It's about a very curated, very well understood way of thinking. So it's tuned to think a certain way. And yet creativity is about thinking out of the box. Do you think that AI today is thinking out of the box for a creative person like you, when you're basically looking at your next film, where you have to think of the next creative idea? A lot is being said about writing scripts using AI. A lot of people talk about new ways of filmmaking. You have these creative minds, but you've got AI that's working 24/7. Now, if you combine AI, you still need it to be creative. You still need to have a film that's very different, that's very Shekhar Kapoor. Now, is Shekhar Kapoor's creativity going to be something that AI is going to be able to do in the future?
Well, I would hope not, but I can tell you why not also. Because AI works on predictability. It can only do what can be predictable. It cannot do that which is unpredictable. Because we've built AI, even the large language models have been built on what can be predicted. But we as creative people, we don't work on that. When I was a kid, I used to live in Delhi, and we went up to the mountains. And there was always the river running down, okay? And as an 11, 12-year-old kid, I used to love jumping from one boulder to another boulder to another boulder. And after a moment, you can say, okay, I'll go to that boulder, then I'll go 3 boulders down there. And at one moment, the momentum has built up so fast that you actually move into the zone. You're not thinking anymore. In that way, you're just going down, 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 and you're one, hoping you're going to be able to make it. Two, having faith that you'll make it. But loving what you're doing, your amazing risk, and you're in the zone. Now, look at the words I've used. I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm hoping I will make it. I'm loving taking the risk, and I'm doing something completely unpredictable. That's creativity. That is how I would describe creativity. But if Elon Musk's little chip was in my shoulder, it would have said, oh, go here, go there, and I would be completely safe. But then why would I do it? The fact is that we are driven to be creative people because we like the risk of unpredictability. That's why we do it.
So what you're basically saying is that AI has to learn in the future to give you, to think in a way that has hope, that has faith, and that dreams, right? So I think the question is, you also talked about emotive intelligence, the heart and the head, the connection. And you also, I know, is someone who believes in myths, right? And it's about saying, how does AI communicate the emotions of myths? Because, you talked about faith, belief, and all the other things that go with emotions. How do you think AI is going to be able to evoke that mythological emotions that are basically about emotions that are deeply entrenched in our memory, if you know what I mean? You talked about the birds and the murmurings that go on. And that's another way of DNA being imprinted with navigation and with patterns and things like that. But we also have certain memories that are imprinted in us about myths and mythologies. How do you basically get the emotional quotient of those myths being translated by AI? Is the creative challenge?
It's a huge challenge, but it's fascinating that you're asking me these questions, that we could have discussed these questions forever, sitting every day, but we are asking only because we are confronted by AI. That's what I love about AI. We are confronted by ourselves. So, I mean, imagine, if all of you can imagine, floating through life on a parachute. Just imagine. You have a parachute, that is fine. You're floating through life, and then there's a storm, and then you can control your parachute this way, and you control your parachute that way. And suddenly, Kiran comes to you and says, hey, why don't you look up? And you say, well, why do I need to look up? I have a parachute and I'm fine. And you say, no, just look up. And you look up and you realize there's no parachute. And then you say, oh my God, I'm falling, help, help, help. And Kiran says, look down. And you realize there's nothing down. So you're not falling from anywhere. You're not falling to anywhere. And so who am I? That's the fundamental question that we're all faced. Who am I? So here's what we did. We created mythologies of gods and goddesses that threw us off from somewhere, and gods and goddesses that help us, and gods and goddesses that will help and control us. So storytelling is nothing but a way of us as finite beings trying to connect with the infinite, because we don't understand the infinite. And creativity is all art. Is a constant attempt to connect ourselves. The poet would leave little words that the poet never said, actually, for you to fill in, that are trying to connect with the infinite. The great, people say great compositions are harmony. Well, harmony would be one note. It's the conflict in the harmony that forces us to try and find our connection to the infinite. So the constant need, and I'm not saying God or anything, but something that is far beyond our own human understanding, and that's where faith comes in, that's where hope comes in, our connection to the infinite. If anybody here knows how AI will help us connect with the infinite, except create a new fundamentally predictable religion, well, please raise your hands and I will worship you. But AI can't do that, right?
So Maybe I'll now like to kind of shift gears to another very important topic, which is about Gen Z. Today, I think everyone is talking about the fact that Gen Z is very reclusive. Their companion is their phone or some social media connect. And that's actually making them very different in the way we know human behavior. As someone who's in the media world, okay, how do you think that we connect with these young people and make them less reclusive using technology, using creativity? Do you have ideas for that? Because I'm really concerned about young people and how many of them don't know how to build relationships, how to behave in certain situations. They panic, um, they balk at the slightest failure, and they're very suicidal at the slightest, impediment that they foresee, and things like that. How do we help such people to get reconnected? And as a media, as someone who's spent your whole life in creative media, in entertainment, how do we reach out to the Gen Z? Using technology, of course. I know you and I talked about podcasts being one of them, but how do we get to them?
Yeah, Kiran, wondered about this because just yesterday my daughter decided to do a podcast and she said, Dad, I want you on it. And she said, Dad, how do you respond to the fact that your daughter has suicidal thoughts? I said, really? And she said, how do you respond to the fact that I did actually get up one night and thought about jumping off? And it was the first time I was facing that. And she's a bright girl. She writes poetry, she writes songs, she's been studying overseas. And in the film that I'm doing, which is a sequel of Masoom, I actually have that little thing.
So you're doing a sequel to Masoom.
Masoom, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And in that, there is this one line where the grandmother, who's never been outside one house, and then the granddaughter, who's traveled all over the world, they go up on a Ferris wheel and she stops and she says, you see, here's the problem. All of this is your choice. Sometimes choice is the major issue that young people face. And then we've not taught them how to choose. When I was a kid, I was a chartered accountant. All I wanted to do was go to London, because that's the only way I could to go to London, not to be a chartered accountant. But I did it. But we had little choice. And now, while we say choice is the best thing that we've offered you, the world is offering you a choice, but choice comes with the responsibility that you suddenly are responsible for what you choose to do, and we are responsible. We haven't taught them that. And now with TikTok and all the other social media, they're being told they're not good enough. Everything that they're seeing, they're not good enough, they're not good enough. They've not made the right choice. So I think with the Gen Z, we owe a greater responsibility to help them choose, because they have a wide choice. That's where I think we should do it, Kiran. Kiran, we have that. I have that responsibility to my daughter, saying, how do you choose, sweetheart? How do you choose? You were only allowed to marry one man because somebody chose it for you at that time. Now you could do whatever you want. How do you deal with a world in which you could do whatever you want? And then be responsible for whatever you do. It's not easy.
True. I think that's a subject that ought to be discussed more and more. And I think it'll be great to have you on that podcast and see what you have to say. Because I think all of us who have gone through our lives making choices with good judgment calls, because as you said, it's about responsibility. It's about finding a sense of purpose which then allows you to make the choice, right? I mean, it sounds very mundane and motherhood, but I think there are important principles that young people must learn from people like us who have gone through the experience of life, the ups and downs, and how do we share it with them? So I think these kind of podcasts would be very interesting, and having someone like you.
And very essential.
Very essential.
And I see it in our films also. We have films that are made in all parts of India, and there is an issue with films that are coming out of what we call Hindi films or Bollywood. They don't belong anywhere. So it's a question of identity. Who am I is a fundamental issue that we all are born with. And actually, we all almost die with that. Who am I? Because every thought is me, every day is me. And when we die, my question is, who am I? You know, who am I? But it's like, but with people who make films here, or in Telugu, in Tamil, in Bengali, they seem to belong. They seem to know who they are, where they are rooted. The films in Bombay are rootless. So I think if you take that to an individual level, there is a lack of a rooted quality. We don't have a sense of strong identity anymore for young people. Who are you? What is your sense of identity? Yeah,
No, so, for the audience, can you give some examples of films that you believe have been rooted in identity which people can really relate to?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a great admirer of Rajamouli. He makes very, very outlandish commercial cinema. But somehow you believe them. You believe in the relationships. You believe that they could exist, even though they are way over the top. Now, if we made the same, say, Bahubali in Hindi, you would not know where it belongs. We would not know because they hold on to a sense of their identity. I think in Bombay, I mean, and listen, I'm talking about myself and I'm talking about my friends. I call it the Pali Hill syndrome. Everybody lives in Pali Hill. So these are Pali Hill. They're an unknown space that these films belong to. But it started seriously because Hindi cinema wanted to go anywhere. So if you watch old Hindi films, nobody had a surname, if you remember. In the court, Miss Seema. Miss Seema what? Or Mr. Ravi. Mr. Ravi what? There never was a surname. So we lost it.
Interesting. So, talking about films and identity and everything you mentioned, if you look at maybe making a film 20 or 30 years or even 10 years from now, do you think AI is going to change the way we make films? Because are you going to have actors or are you going to have AI characters?
That's a fascinating question. We ask ourselves every day. So let's face one thing. AI has lowered the barriers because what the studio system or any system does, it makes it so expensive to make a film. And the star costs more, the studio executives charge more, marketing costs more. And it's a circular system that lives, as I said, on the top of the pyramid. So there's a definite entry barrier. If you want to make a big film, you can't make it for less than 200-300 crores or there, $200-300 million. That $200 million film can be made in $2,000 now with AI. So what AI is going to do is going to destroy that idea of a huge entry barrier. So
democratize movie making.
To me, I love AI for all its issues. It's the most, not since the invention of the wheel have we had something so democratic. So democratic in your own business. Look at that. We can do things much cheaper. And yes, you talked about LLM, large models. I keep thinking didn't they say that about our space? We went to Mars. They said you couldn't. What did we do? And I don't believe that chips should be that expensive. I'm sure we can have chips that in itself are intuitive. I keep coming. We could make intuitive chips, and I'm sure there are engineers, people sitting here, trying to work out what is an intuitive chip. Does a chip have to go yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, so often that it's just taking up power and creating heat? But if there's an intuitivity in a chip itself, we'll be able to do it. And I'm sure, the people you're training, the way you build Biocon, was through intuitivity and changing it. I'm sure there are chips being made in China. I know I shouldn't talk about China, but they are ahead, and they're intuitive chips. coming up. So I don't believe in this idea that LLMs, it's like, you know what? It's like in Diwali we play Teen Pati, three-card brag, and the stake goes up by $1 million a round, and nobody's seen their cards. Until somebody opens their cards and looks, you can raise the stakes to anything. Nobody's seen a cent and nobody's seen their cards, so you can go on. So this trillion-dollar game that is being played, we are at the brink of the collapse, and that collapse will come from where? From, let me say, it'll come from that maid, the cleaning lady that worked down there, who takes on there, and she and people her kind will bring the collapse, because AI will ultimately, these technologies go where they are most needed, not where they're most expensive.
Yeah, and I think, the next part of that question is, today the whole film industry is made up of an ecosystem of different people who work in that ecosystem. And as to your point, I think many of them will be displaced because of AI. So again, the big question is, which is always being asked is, AI is a very powerful tool, and of course it breaks down all silos, it disrupts, it just makes you do things very differently. And to your point, you can create any scene you want without having an expensive studio setting. You can, film anything you want in the most remote part of the world, and it'll look like you've shot it there. And of course, you can create any character you want. I mean, a lot of people say that, the biopics of the future can be actually made by just taking a film of the photograph of the person and morphing it at any age, throughout the biopic. So, on one hand, it seems that yes, all this is going to happen and it's very exciting. But on the other hand, there is still that emotional quotient of having an actor or an actress who is a star. So how do you reconcile with the two?
Well, storytelling will never go away. Let me just drink some water. Excuse me. Bangalore air.
It's very clean compared to Delhi.
Yeah, you can clap for that. I know Delhi air is very bad. But there are two aspects of what you said. But let me get to storytelling first. Storytelling will never change. AI cannot affect that, as we talked about. Since ages, we express ourselves, we understand ourselves in many forms, in art, in storytelling, in poetry, in music. It's our attempt to connect with that which we do not understand, right? That will never change. But in the current format, for those of you that are very fond of Marvel films, where the costume is a bit more important than the actor. You can change Batman actor, you can't change the costume. You can get another person to play Superman, you can't change Superman's costume or Catwoman's costume. These are action films that AI can replace very easily. Myself, I've made Mr. India. I'm pretty sure Mr. India can be done by AI quite easily. I made Masoom. Masoom cannot. I'll tell you why. Because emotion comes in. And emotion mostly comes in, other than from the story, by what we call the close-up. Here's what happens in close-up. It's the close-up that AI will always struggle in. Because when we are born as babies, we understand our existence by watching the pupils of the adults. All those adults are making funny faces at us. We are looking at the pupils. And even science as yet has not understood the pupil. So if you have, say, Shabana Azmi or Brad Pitt, you're responding to their pupils. And you're doing it subconsciously because there's certain vibrations that we're still trying to understand. And the pupils vibrate without you being conscious about it. But it's a pupil-to-pupil talk, and often your brain and what we call intelligence doesn't come into it. And that's going to be our problem. That pupil-to-pupil talk in a close-up is going to be very tough. Only because we don't know what actually happens. When we say heart-to-heart talk, what does that mean? We don't see it, but we understand something's happening. So yeah, when we do a film like Masoom or very emotional films, we connect with with the actors' pupils. And we don't still understand what is going on in it. What is that pupil? It's actually, if you look scientifically, it's vibrating at a level that even when you're talking to somebody, you're not consciously understanding it, but it's a connectivity that's going on. How do I replicate that with AI when I don't even know what's happening with it? That's where the problem will be. So emotionality, you'll have to just tell by the story and keeping the actors away from close-up. Because the moment they come in close-up, it'll show as false.
So to that extent, you're saying even the camera that is going to shoot the film cannot completely depend on AI. I mean, there is a technique to shooting those expressions and that emotions is what is going to still be preserved, is what you're saying.
No, the camera can, because you know, what is the camera? But it's a data gathering device.
Okay.
That's all it is. It used to be when celluloid there was, and we all said, oh my God, we've lost the film look. But that was a look we created. It wasn't real. It was a film look. So we spent hours with the cameraman saying, put a shadow there, put more light here, the light on her face. She looks better with a little more light on her cheek. We were creating an artificial thing even then. And we called it the film look, so everybody accepts that's cinema. It changed. Then we went to digital cameras. Everybody said no. I mean, in Hollywood, when there were silent movies, and I remember when actors started to speak and they said Hollywood is dead. Because actors can't speak, it was all silent films. Then when we went to digital, they said, oh my God, Hollywood is dead. It's digital. So we keep coming up. New technology will come up. But the problem, so it's an adaptive. We are an adaptive creative process. Something after AI will come. I mean, I keep talking about Elon Musk's chip because I'm so fascinated by the fact that I can go to sleep and I have Elon Musk and I'll dream of a film and the next morning it'll be on my television. It could be that easy, then I wouldn't have to do anything. If you can dream a story, you can create a film. So it'll go on. All this will keep going on. But no, it's storytelling, but it's the emotion because we don't understand it. And the idea that we don't understand what intelligence is. Now everybody's telling me, oh, it's in the brain. There's no intelligence in the heart. We know that the vagus nerve gives more signals to the brain than the brain does to the heart. When, just imagine, I was just thinking this morning, remember we used to tell, she loves me not, she loves me not, she loves me, and love was so exciting and so mysterious. If you put AI there, it'll go, she loves me, she loves me, she loves me, she loves me, she loves me. There'll be no mystery to love. If there's no mystery to love, there'll be no love. If there'll be no mystery to life, there'll be no life. So there's somewhere that AI will never compete with being human. But coming back to technology, the technology will give us greater ways to tell a story. As long as there's truth in the story, we'll survive.
So do you think AI will ever get to a point where it can dream like we do?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that you get, again, we dream because we are conflicted. I mean, I don't know exactly which theory, but they say that the theory is that it's your conscious trying to get to terms with your subconscious, which is what a dream is. So then the answer is, you and I will have to sit down, does AI have a subconscious? And if it does have a subconscious, why does it have a subconscious? Because we have a subconscious, apparently, because in our conscious life we are so conflicted that we have to resolve that conflict in dreaming. A dream is a conflict resolution idea to the unnatural things that we go through our conscious life. So the point is, does the AI have a subconscious, or does it have conflict in its conscious life? And if it does it have conscious life? These are fascinating questions. Can we create a conscious life for AI? I mean, there are enough scientists as you who we can talk about that the next time if you want to come back. We'll talk about the conscious life and the subconscious life of AI.
So if you were to, I mean, you're going to be making a new film. How much technology do you think you're going to use in that film?
That film, very little. My technology of that film is the actors, so I can't do that with AI. It's actors like Nasiruddin Shah, Shabana Azmi, Manoj Bajpayee, and some of the best actors. I only take them because in close-up, see, the great actors, there is always a plot, and then there's a whole of life. The greatest actors will reveal in the dialogue the plot, but their eyes will reveal life.
No, but what about the sets? The way you can shoot a scene? Is that going to be technology-led?
It's called the New India Construction Company, and it's all based in a construction site. Now, yes, AI will help me because I can't go every morning and say, no, wait, yesterday the bulldozer was there. You have to move it here. The construction, I need a construction site that's constantly under construction. So AI will help me do that and make it much cheaper. Thank God for AI there, yes.
No, so it's going to be exciting.
Very
to
exciting.
Make movies using technology and
kids, A.R. Rahman and I, we've been running a music school in
tell us
Dharavi.
about that, yeah.
In Dharavi. And I know when Sam Altman first came here, remember he came here years ago saying, India, AI never. Then he came again and we met him and I said, look, I want to teach filmmaking to these 11-year-old slum kids. And he said, I will give you all the support and all the tools. And I know that once I have, so his people, he didn't go, but his people went to Dharavi to meet these kids. Some of them, they clean bathrooms during the day, they come to the hip-hop music school, and gave them a phone with ChatGPT, and they came out with tears in their eyes. Not just because of the kids, but because within seconds the things they picked up, the way they adapted, the things they were doing, they were kind of stunned how fast they moved now. These are the kids that will make us the best in the world. Isn't that Kiran? That's our hope, are these slum kids with AI considering and becoming the new India. That's what we want now.
So we've got about 10 minutes left, and I was just thinking we should throw it open to questions in the audience before we wrap up. So
I preferred questions from Kiran. She played it safe, but okay. Yes, go on, please.
You're creative enough to answer any question.
Or clever enough.
Hi, sir. You earlier mentioned that AI will make filmmaking democratized and also lower the entry barrier to this. With OTT platforms, already traditional theaters and pulling down, the relevance is coming down. And AI, with now AI enabling it to pull up high quality films, do you think it will further reduce the relevance of traditional film theaters and the stardom of the film actors and per se?
Do you know we have only 8,000 screens in India? That's it. Do you know how many China has? 90,000.
Oh.
So we should just take that figure into account before we say OTT. And in India we are the largest, most obsessive going theater people. I used to go to theaters with the rats on the screen, and the fans were going so hard I could barely hear the lines. And you know how I heard the lines of the film? Because 5 guys sitting in front of me were seeing the film for the 15th time, and they would say the lines before the lines came. That's how I understood the film, because I couldn't hear it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So that's how we are an obsessive audience. We love cinema. Yeah. And actually cinema in India just came from folk theatre. The traveling, the Notanki theatre that went out, we adapted to that. That's why Hollywood finds it difficult to understand us. Yeah. Our cinema is still a folk form. So, but we only have 7,000, 8,000 screens left. And so OTT has brought to us Manoj Bajpayee, although he came to me in Bandit Queen, but OTT is bringing us a slew of new talent. Yeah. So it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. With AI, I can say a lot of older singers and actors' voices being recreated for the movies. So, in that case, will it be any copyright infringement, and who is answerable to that?
You know, everybody's talking about making Mr. India 2, and I said, I'm not going to direct it, I'll help you write it or create it and develop it. So I was meeting a lot of writers, and they were giving me the scripts and things, and then one day my cook came to me. It said, sir, मैंने भी कहानी लिखी है. He had written a plot outline for Mr. India 2. Now, I had a choice. I could either get bad food or read his plot. So I read his plot, and it was the best. So I asked him, where did you get this? How? He said, sir, on your computer, ChatGPT gave it to me. Now, when I read it, ChatGPT knew that Amrish Puri had passed away. It knew that Sri Devi had passed away. And ChatGPT knew that Satish Kaushik had passed away. And it said, AI can recreate these characters for you on screen, identically. So yes, of course, I have seen trailers and things for films that now, I saw something that one of my companies was doing an ad with Hrithik Roshan. I could not tell the difference between the AI Hrithik and Hrithik in real life. So it's now what the actors have to, they all are all over the world, they are taking, you know, copyright of themselves, their voice copyright, their likeness copyright, which they have to, otherwise AI will, you can't tell the difference between the actors, except in close-up, if they are good actors. You know it's not Amitabh Bachchan, because the pupil will be different.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. My name is Vinay Shinde, and I'm a social entrepreneur and also passionate about art, music, theater, and culture. So it might be a little repetitive. Since
AI is repetitive, remember that.
In this age of AI, how the Indian cinema, especially because you are a decade of time spent in film industry, so how especially the Bollywood and Indian cinema prepare to take the challenges of this AI to spread this entertainment industry world?
I think that cinema has to expand its identity. You would say, you know, TikTok, TikTok was $1 billion company before anybody in Hollywood knew what TikTok was. It just created its own platform. 9,000 or 8,000 screens is not good enough to maintain our love for cinema. We love big screens, yes, but I think that something with the AI will start creating its own platform. I'm hoping that soon we'll have that technique by which you have something and it'll give you a sense of being in a cinema theater with people around.
Yeah, and just to add on, typically, very rarely, definitely stars are making money, but the percentage of population of, in the creative industry, in the art, music, theater, there are 90% people are still struggling. How do you see the futuristic that the creative people who appreciate art, music, theater, do you think they can make money, they can really make the progressive career in future?
I think you have two questions. Can poor people appreciate art if they're hungry? Just go to a village and hear the music. Just go there. That we know that poverty and hunger does not stop you. In fact, it makes you feel art is also belongs to the people, because that's where Indian cinema came from. It came from villages. It came from Notankis. It came from these traveling theaters going through villages. So, but the other thing is, how does somebody make it into cinema? OTT is already giving a lot of the actors and directors today come from very, very humble backgrounds. And they are very big stars, very well known. So, but when people come to me, a lot of people come to me and say, sir, how do I become a film director? And they're shooting with me. And I said, hey, you got a camera? You're filming me? And they said, yes. I said, you're going to go home and you edit it? He said, yes. I said, you could put it on YouTube? And he said, yes. I said, you're a film director. You already are. So what is the question? The question is, how do I become famous? So you have to understand the choice. What is the choice you're looking for? Art or fame?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Sir,
There's a lady at the back, she's going to say, can I take her first?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, there are two ladies at the back. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So good evening, sir. I'm Shipra Pandey, and as a movie buff and cinema lover, so my first question to you is why you have stopped making such good films? Means why you are not making films now? We are missing you on Indian screens.
Do you know how painful it is to make a film?
Well, AI now should help you to make more films.
Yeah, my another question is that only, sir. Means you are OG of filmmaking. We have seen Bandit Queen and Mr. India, Pani I have seen. So such bold movies you have made, and currently
Can I stop you and tell you you're making it more difficult for me to make a film? You know, each time to make a film, to say it has to be as good as the last one, it has to be as appreciated as the last one.
Yeah.
It has to be as successful, but
Yeah.
most, I have to be proud of what I do.
Yeah,
That's
we
what
are
stops
also
me.
proud of that.
Yeah, thank you for that, but I have to be proud of what I do, right? And therefore, I go through doubt, and then I wish that I had somebody who just, Kiran, you do it for me, just said, hey, go make a film, don't think about it, go, do it. I will go and do it. But that's even when I shoot, I have to tell you the way I shoot. When I go to shoot, I need something that tells me how to shoot it. I prepare like a general going to war. And then I get to the shoot and I think, hang on, am I going to shoot what I prepared? Or am I going to shoot something that is more real in the moment? Because the moment has something else to tell me. So I sit there and wait for the moment to tell me, and then I panic. I create out of panic. I'm sorry, but that's how I make films. I just create and I panic myself, and I'm hoping that some moment out of my panic, what am I doing? I'm clearing my mind out. I'm clearing my ego out. I'm emptying myself. I'm putting myself into a state of nothingness, and something works. I said, I got it. It's like an artist every day having to face an empty canvas to say, where do I start? And somebody pushes me to put that, then I start. It's not easy. It's a painful job. I was a chartered accountant. My parents said, do that. Should have stayed one. Anyway, no, I wish I did. I'd like to. I am going to make a new film. But thank you for your faith.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, we're all waiting for that.
Sir, maybe, hi sir, I'm Jay Prakash. Just adding to this question, so how would it be, in case if you direct Mr. India in 2025 or going forward with this latest AI technology?
I don't know. I mean, maybe the AI Mogambo is different. I can't predict it. I'm a bit obsessive. So I don't know that AI can handle my obsessiveness, because there is always a limit to what it will respond to. It might say to the producer, I think you should replace the director. That's what I think will happen.
So any theme you have, in case if you wish to decide to
Sorry?
proceed, any theme based on the latest technology, AI?
Yeah, I've launched a whole series called Warlord, which is completely AI-based. But, it's a story I've been working on for 10 years.
Okay.
And I finally found AI as a way to make it at a cost that it can be made at. And I'm using AI to create something that I know I cannot have the budget for, to make such a huge space adventure.
Thank you.
Can we, sorry. I'm talking too much about myself. Can we?
No, you have to. This is about
Sir,
you.
so this is regarding the history of AI, right? In fact, AI was introduced in 1950 by Alan Turing, and then in 1956 there was a conference called Dartmouth Conference. That's where the name artificial intelligence was derived. From 1956 till 2000, early 2000, AI was actually not visible at all. But now, if you see, it's like everything is AI. Right? So artificial intelligence is becoming so much that for each and every, you go anything in the world, they're talking about AI.
I get it.
So there was really people, though it was introduced in 1950s.
You're right, absolutely. So, do you know when tractors first came to India, they said, the kisan gaya, kisan to hal chalata hai. Till the kisan, they learned how to drive a tractor. AI has been around forever, but now AI is at a stage at where everything is changing at a pace that most people will think is chaos. And it's only those that can handle the chaos of change are the ones that are going to be the future leaders and the future entrepreneurs. I've got to understand that it's the pace of change that they have to confront. And I come back to that. Who will understand and take on the pace of change is the cleaning lady, because she has to.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to that because at that level is where people will. Most of us that are used to the way we work, we cannot handle that pace of change because we see it as chaos. But it's not chaos. It's just change at an unpredictable level.
So the question related to that was, trust becomes very important when you actually look at
Trust,
AI.
yes.
Trust, because people have to trust the artificial intelligence systems which have been used. And then there is a data privacy issue, which we have been all talking about, right? So if you look at the industry, even the film industry, there were factories like, the great stars like Mr. Dharmendra, Mr. Jitendra. Their movies used to happen so fast, right? They used to churn out so fast, the movies. Even Mr. India, I understand it's a very complex movie. Mr. Boni Kapoor was mentioning about that. You took around almost a year to do that. That's what, 1987, if I'm right. But now if you see the industry, all the other industries, AI is, because of our technology, everything is moving fast. But today's world, if you look at the cinema, the film industry, it is taking more time. Is it because the scale of budget? What is your opinion? Why it is taking more time now when things can be done faster, when you have so much
It's not taking more time. We're just refusing to adapt to it.
Oh, okay.
We don't like to change easy.
Okay.
Remember, always, the top of the pyramid does not like change, and they control it, and that control is fast going away.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So we can take about 3 more questions.
Hi, sir. Hi, ma'am. So I
I'd
have
like
a
to give
question.
the questions, too many men, women, please. Because you are aggressive and you get through. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, I have a question from both of you that what do you think about AI in mental health?
AI and mental
Yeah,
health.
no, it's
I
very
think that's
important,
what
yeah.
we talked about. I mean, basically, I think mental health is a huge issue because Gen Z today is very stressed, very reclusive, and they don't know how to reach out. And as Shekhar himself said, they don't know how to make choices, and they don't know what makes them happy. I think those are the real concerns, and maybe you'd like to add to it.
No, I think, Kiran, you just said it. We talked about this. Mental health is one of the biggest issues that's facing our planet right now with people. And it's not just with the people who don't have, it's also usually with people who have the means to survive and to live. And the whole problem is now with social media is saying, you're only good if you do this, you're only good if you look like this, you're only good if you do that, you're only good at this. It's deciding who they should be, and they're falling for the trap. So we have to teach them. It's just a trap. And the fact that their choices have to be the choices that they believe in themselves. So then we come back to the ideas, who am I?
It's the identity crisis.
Identity is completely the identity crisis. You're absolutely right. It's a huge identity crisis.
So, sir, have you tried any
Where
AI
are the women?
tools?
Yeah, please ask me. I have to, please, otherwise it just gets
Okay.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Shekhar and Dr. Kiran. First of all, such an amazing conversation. I could listen on if we had
I
time.
knew that. I
Great
knew it
questions,
would be
great
with her there.
Well, my name is Akshayata, and I lead brand and communications for Bosch Global Software, a tech company. What I found interesting is several times in your conversation, you spoke about the interplay of head and heart as a great way to unlock creativity in AI, right? You spoke, I think the thing that stood out for me most is when you said, technology can give us better ways to tell story as long as there's truth in it. My question is a little fundamental because there's so much said about how you exercise your head. You know, you prompt better, you learn more, you unlearn more, and so on and so forth. But maybe we don't discuss enough about what seems like the diametric opposite, which is the heart. Because there you're not talking more and more, you're less and less. So What would be your pragmatic advice to any leader in any industry? How do you balance and exercise the heart in a way that it really makes you creative?
So there are two questions that you're asking me. Either I can, and I'm sure Kiran is going to be much better at answering that question. Biologically, one of the things that I'm working with some neuroscientists now is to see how much of our actions are controlled by the heart physically. Where does messaging come from? Because my belief system that the brain is a doubting system. It doubts. The heart is much more connected to now. So if there is this idea of somewhere the search for connectivity with the infinite or the now, this idea that even that physics is taking over is that there's no past, no present, no future, there's only the now. It's not just in our Upanishads, it's now thing. That now probably exists in the heart, I think. But we need much more data for that, which Kiran, I'm sure, will find.
Well, I just think as a brand communications person, you know that the message is really about connecting with the emotional, aspect of any individual. Your message will just be lost if it's just a bland message which people don't connect with. So I think AI has to be basically trained to really be more emotive. And you can do that. I mean, I know, for instance, that when I use ChatGPT very often to write, pieces or speeches or whatever I want to do, I have to keep on training it over and over again till I'm happy that it's communicating my message, not its message, right? And I think that's what AI has to learn to do. How do you connect the message to the person or to the audience or to the target customer or sector? So I think that's what is required, and I think it's smart enough to do that. But when it comes to filmmaking, it's a very different, brand messaging or communication. Because as Shekhar said, it's about the emotional connect with whoever you're using to act out that piece. And can a AI character do that? At this point in time, the answer is no. A real actor can do that. So time will tell. Yeah.
Hello. Is information, knowledge. So with a similar model and the advancement of neural, AI today, while we are understanding human brain, its behavior, how we think, how we are creative, do you truly believe that AI can be creative in future?
We understand your question. I have one word,
Yeah.
and then I'll let Kiran is going to be much better at this. Tell me the day you can tell me that AI can.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. It's an honor talking.
Live in Juhu in Mumbai, and it's now got very crowded. And live in Juhu in Mumbai, and it's now got very crowded. And when I go for a walk towards the beach, I have to cross a road, and there's so many cars, they're honking at me, and I hate them. I could beat them up. I am the pedestrian tribe. The next day or the next hour, I will be driving and I will be honking at every pedestrian, and I've suddenly become the driving tribe. We change tribes so easily, and now I've changed my identity. So it's a complex question. It's complex because we are tribal, because we are community, therefore we are tribal, and all of these are complex questions. So I'm really glad you asked it, but there's no simple answer. You just say, which tribe am I? And then a large part of say, advertising is to shift your tribal identity, not just your identity. If you follow this person's perfume and it's a human being, you're shifting your identity to that person also.
So I think with that, I would like to bring this wonderful fireside chat to a conclusion and just thank this wonderful creative master, I would like to call him, for being here with us, sharing his
You're
thoughts.
embarrassing me.
Well, I like to embarrass you. And I have a right to embarrass you today since you are our guest. So let me thank you on behalf of everyone here. And we are really looking forward to your next film. All the
Thank
best.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I would request the chairman of KDMC, B.V. Naidu ji, to please come over and give away mementos to both of them. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. It was we were in fact in a mood to hear it continuously, but yes. Thank you, Shekhar Kapoor ji, for your presence and the thoughts. I would also request Mr. Naidu to give a memento to Dr. Kiran Mazumdar Shah also.